May 12, 1943. Near Tunis, North Africa. Late afternoon. The sun hangs low, heavy and merciless, turning the sand into a blinding sheet of white. Sweat runs down the spine of Gefreiter Karl Müller, mixing with dust and cordite. His rifle feels useless now. Empty. Around him, the sounds of battle have thinned into scattered echoes. Distant artillery, the crack of a single rifle shot, then silence. A white cloth rises from behind a shattered olive tree. Then another. Orders are shouted in English, sharp, confident. Boots crunch forward. American soldiers emerge, weapons steady but faces calm. Not shouting, not angry, almost relaxed. Karl lowers his helmet slowly. His hands tremble, not from fear of death but from confusion. This is not how it was supposed to feel. Minutes later, he is standing in a loose column of defeated men, Wehrmacht uniforms stained and torn, officers stripped of pistols, dog tags clinking softly as they walk. No beatings, no screaming, just water canteens being passed down the line. You can almost hear the propaganda posters tearing themselves apart in his mind. Within days, Karl and thousands like him are herded onto transport ships in the Mediterranean. The air below deck is thick oil, sweat, rust, fear. Men whisper rumors in the dark. They'll put us to work like slaves. They starve their own people. Imagine how they'll treat us. America is collapsing. That's what Berlin said. The engines thrum. The sea stretches endlessly. And somewhere beyond the horizon lies a country Karl has only ever seen in caricature fat bankers, starving workers, bread lines, chaos. Weeks later, the ship docks. Newport News, Virginia. The hatch opens, light floods in. And something hits Karl before the smell of land ever does. Noise. Not the noise of warped industry. Cranes groan. Steel rings. Trucks rumble. And everywhere, movement. Organized. Purposeful. Efficient. As the prisoners are marched down the gangway, Karl notices something strange along the docks. Cars, not military trucks. Civilian automobiles. Shiny. Personal. Parked casually. As if they were bicycles. Men in plain work clothes climb into them, lunch pails in hand, laughing, smoking, driving away. Karl stops walking for half a second. A guard nudges him forward. Later, as the train carries them inland, the sights multiply. Farmhouses with electricity, gas stations glowing at dusk, highways filled with traffic, billboards advertising refrigerators, radios, washing machines, refrigerators. Karl leans toward the small barred window, eyes narrowed. He remembers a lecture from a party official in 1941. In America, workers queue for bread. Capitalism rots from the inside. But here, the workers drive cars. The train pulls into Camperdown, Texas, just before midnight. Floodlights cut through the darkness. Barbed wire glints. Guard towers stand silent. The camp is orderly, clean, almost quiet. The barracks smell of fresh lumber. Beds have mattresses, blankets. There is food, real food. Meat, bread that is not ration thin. Karl lies awake that night, staring at the ceiling. This is not what surrender was supposed to feel like. Days pass, then weeks. The prisoners are assigned work details, cotton fields, food processing plants, rail yards. Always supervised, always paid a small wage, always fed. One morning, Karl and the work group are transported to a nearby cannery. They wait outside as a shift ends. And that's when it happens. A whistle blows, doors open, American workers pour out. Men and women, laughing, stretching, talking about baseball, about dinner, about movies. And then, almost casually, they walk to the parking lot. The lot is full. Sedans, pickup trucks, new models, old ones, all personal, all owned. An older American worker waves to a friend, tosses his jacket onto the passenger seat of his car, and drives off. Karl feels his stomach tighten. Beside him, another German prisoner whispers in disbelief. Factory workers don't own cars. But here they do. That night, back in the barracks, the talk is no longer about escape. It is about questions. If this is poverty, what does wealth look like? And if this is capitalism, what else were we lied to about? Carl turns onto his side, eyes open in the dark. Because tomorrow, he will learn about something even more unbelievable, something humming quietly in American kitchens, cold air behind a metal door. Morning comes early in Texas. The sun rises fast and hard, burning away the cool night before most men are fully awake. Inside Camp Hand, the day begins with the same routine roll call, breakfast, work assignments. It is all efficient, predictable, almost boring. And that is what unsettles Gefreiter Karl Muller the most. War, he has learned, is supposed to be chaos. Captivity is supposed to be misery. But here, behind barbed wire, thousands of miles from home, life moves with an unnerving sense of order. The work truck rattles down a dirt road toward the town. Dust trails behind them like a fading memory of the front. Carl sits on a wooden bench, hands resting on his knees, watching the countryside slide past. Farmhouses dot the land, neat, painted. Power lines stretch between poles like a web of quiet electricity. Windmills spin lazily. Every few miles, a mailbox stands at the end of a driveway. Mailboxes, each one a promise of letters, packages, connection. At the cannery, the German prisoners are stationed near the loading bay. They stack crates, move barrels. Simple work, honest work, honest work. The American foreman watches with a clipboard, not a rifle. During the lunch break, something unexpected happens. The foreman sits down, right there, on a crate. With them, he opens a metal lunch pail. Inside, sandwiches wrapped in wax paper, an apple, a small bottle of milk. He notices Carl watching. "You want one?" the man asks, holding up the apple. Carl hesitates, then shakes his head. The foreman shrugs, bites into it, and smiles. "Suit yourself." A few minutes later, a woman in a blue factory uniform joins them. She wipes her hands on a rag and complains about the heat, mentions her husband just bought a new refrigerator. A refrigerator. Carl's ears sharpen. "Old one finally gave out," she says. "This new one's electric, big enough to keep ice cream all summer." Ice cream. Carl glances at Unteroffizier Franz Weber, sitting beside him. Franz's mouth is slightly open. He doesn't even realize it. At home, ice is rationed. Meat spoils quickly. Refrigeration is a luxury reserved for officers or hospitals. And here, factory workers complain about replacing perfectly functional appliances. On the ride back to camp, no one speaks. That evening, the German prisoners gather in small groups, voices low, eyes cautious. They compare notes, stories from different work sites. A farmer with 2 tractors, a machinist with a radio in every room, a warehouse clerk who owns not 1 but 2 cars. "These are lies," one man insists. "They show us only the best." But the stories don't stop. A POW assigned to a dairy plant describes refrigerated trucks. Another mentions a grocery store filled with meat. Shelves stacked high. No ration cards. The camp library opens soon after. English newspapers are available. Magazines too. Some men learn enough English to read advertisements. Washing machines, vacuum cleaners, electric stoves. Carl flips through a magazine slowly, carefully. Photographs show smiling families in modest homes. Not mansions, not palaces, just normal people, normal workers, owning things that in Germany are considered luxuries or fantasies. The wire no longer feels like the boundary. The boundary is inside their minds. One Sunday afternoon, the prisoners are allowed to attend a baseball game near the camp. They sit in a fenced-off section. Guards stand nearby but relaxed. The crowd cheers. Vendors shout. Carl watches families arrive in cars, children eating hot dogs, radios playing music. He feels something shift inside him. This is not the decadent collapse he was promised. This is not desperation. This is comfort, stability, momentum. And if America can give this life to its workers, what does it give its soldiers? That night, Carl writes a letter home. He chooses his words carefully. Censors will read it. But some truths cannot be hidden. "We were told America was poor," he writes. I see no poverty here, I see machines, I see food, I see men who do not fear tomorrow. He folds the paper, unsure if it will ever arrive. As the lights go out, Carl stares at the barrack ceiling again. If this is what America looks like during war, what will it look like when peace comes? And more importantly, what will Germany look like then? Winter arrives quietly in Texas. There is no snow, no frozen ground, just a cooler wind that slips through the camp at night, carrying the smell of wood smoke and distant rain. For the German prisoners, the change of season brings something else with it. Time. Too much of it. And with time comes reflection. Gefreiter Karl Müller now understands enough English to follow simple conversations. Words come slowly, but meaning comes fast. He listens more than he speaks. At work sites, in town on the radio that plays softly in the background of factories, American news does not sound like German news. There is no shouting, no certainty, no promises of final victory delivered with raised fists. Broadcasters argue, question, criticize their own leaders. One evening, while unloading crates at a warehouse, Carl hears a radio announcer mention layoffs in one factory and hiring in another. The foreman laughs. That's business, he says. Something always opens up. Always. The word sticks. Back in the camp, debates ignite in whispers after lights out. Men argue not about tactics or battles, but about truth. If they have all this, Franz says one night, voice low, why don't they collapse under war pressure? A former party member snaps back, because they're hiding the suffering. But fewer men agree with him now. The evidence is too visible, too consistent. Letters from home arrive sporadically. The tone is changing. Mentions of longer ration lines, bombing damage, cold apartments, factories running without raw materials. One man receives news that his wife sold the family piano for food. Another learns his brother was drafted at 17. Cal reads his own letter again and again, wondering what his parents will think if they believe him. The guards notice the change too. Prisoners ask questions now. About wages, about unions, about how workers can strike and still keep their jobs, about why American soldiers complain openly about officers without punishment. One guard, Corporal James Whittaker, answers honestly, because they're allowed to. Allowed, the word lands like a blow. Carl remembers a joke he once told in a barracks in Poland, harmless, critical. The silence that followed. The warning look. The knowledge that walls had ears. Here, men criticize the president loudly in diners, and then go back to work the next morning. One afternoon, the prisoners are assigned to help unload appliances at a local store. Refrigerators line the sidewalk, gleaming white even in the weak winter sun. A young couple walks by. The man slaps the side of one fridge proudly. Got this on credit, he says. Paid it off in 6 months. Carl touches the cold metal when no one is looking. It hums softly. Alive. Reliable. Cold whenever you want it to be. At dinner that night, Carl eats in silence. This machine, this simple household object, requires steel, copper, electricity, transport, manufacturing coordination, and America builds millions of them. While fighting a global war, the realization is slow, painful, inescapable. If American workers live like this, if factories run like this, if criticism is allowed, not punished, then the stories about Germany's enemies are not exaggerated. They are inverted. In early spring, a rumor spreads through the camp. A new group of prisoners has arrived from Normandy. Veterans. Survivors. They talk of endless trucks, of planes that never stop coming, of equipment replaced faster than it can be destroyed. Carl listens closely. The pieces are lined. Cars in parking lots, refrigerators in kitchens, assembly lines that never sleep. This is not luck, this is structure, and structure wins wars. Late one night, Franz leans over and whispers, if this is true, then we never had a chance. Carl does not answer, because deep down he already knows the truth, and it is heavier than captivity. April 1945, Camp Han, Texas. Early morning. The loudspeaker crackles to life before sunrise. The words come in English first, then German. Formal. measured. Germany has surrendered. For a moment, no one moves. Then the camp exhales. Some men sit down on their bunks, suddenly weak. Others stare through the barracks windows at a sky that looks exactly the same as it did yesterday. No fireworks, no cheers, just birdsong and the distant hum of trucks on the highway. Gefreiter Karl Muller feels neither relief nor anger. He feels understanding. In the weeks that follow, the guards relax further. Restrictions loosen. Newspapers are passed around freely now. Photos of ruined German cities appear on the front pages. Berlin, Hamburg, Cologne. Cologne studies the images in silence. He compares them without meaning to what he has seen beyond the wire. Fall shells, bright lights, roads alive with traffic. The war did not crush America, it accelerated it. One afternoon, Karl is assigned to help repair fencing near the camp perimeter. A local farmer pulls up nearby in a dusty pickup truck. He shuts off the engine, hops out, and chats casually with a guard about gasoline prices and planting season. The farmer notices Karl watching. "You from Germany?" he asks, not unkindly. Karl nods. The man wipes his hands on his jeans. "Hell of a mess over there. Hope you get home soon." Home. The word feels distant now. Complicated. In the final months before repatriation, Karl and many others attend classes offered by the Americans' English lessons, basic civics, vocational training, not re-education through force, through exposure. They learn how wages work, how credit works, how workers can change jobs without permission, how newspapers criticize politicians and still get printed. Karl listens carefully, because none of this was supposed to exist. When the time comes to leave, the camp gates open not with drama but with paperwork. The prisoners board trains again. But this time, the mood is different. No whispers, no rumors, just quiet processing. On the long journey back across the Atlantic, Karl stands at the rail of the transport ship and watches the American coastline fade. Shipyards slide past, still active, still building. He counts cranes without realizing it. Years later, in a small town in southern Germany, Karl walks to work each morning through streets lined with rubble and rebuilding scaffolds. Food is scarce. Electricity, unreliable. His wages barely stretch, but something inside him has changed. When party loyalists claim that Germany was betrayed, Karl stays silent. When someone insists America must be starving now, Karl shakes his head slowly. "No," he says, "they are not." He remembers parking lots filled with cars, refrigerators humming quietly in kitchens, workers who finished their shifts and drove home to warm meals and cold milk. And he understands finally what truly defeated Germany. Not bombs alone, not soldiers alone, but a system that allowed ordinary people to live well, and therefore build endlessly. Years later, historians will write about industrial output, logistics, and production figures. Karl does not need the numbers. He saw it himself. Behind barbed wire, in the hands of factory workers, in the quiet hum of a refrigerator on a hot Texas afternoon. And once you have seen that, propaganda can never fully rebuild itself.